Hey guys, Dennis. Again, it's July 10th, 2020. I'm on the road, still on the road to go meet up with my friend James at Fogo. So I'm actually in Rockville right now. But anyway, while I got some time, I just want to go ahead and just kind of create this another part of this whole YouTube video type of thing, which is to talk about my past. So right now I'm going to go talk about my past, kind of let you guys know exactly who I am and where I came from. So name's Dennis Amore. Jaden and Jason, if you guys are listening, it's Daddy. Yeah, so I came here with my family when I was 7 years old from the Philippines. Filipino, from this place called Dumaguete. And, I speak Visayan. That's the language that we speak, or the dialect that we speak. It's not Tagalog, but I do understand Tagalog enough to get by. I don't speak it, though. So anyway, I came here when I was 7. My mom came here first, and she worked for this lady named Mrs. Macy. And Mrs. Macy, her family owned Macy's, the clothing store. Anyway, she took care of her in her home in DC, and Mrs. Macy, along with my aunt and some other people, helped my mom get myself, my sister, and my dad here to the United States. And so we're very thankful for that. Obviously, with all the stuff that's going on right now in this country, there's so much disrespect for this country and for the flag and everything else, and it really breaks my heart, because this place it's a great country. It's the greatest country that I think in the whole world. The reason why people come over here is because they know there's so much opportunity here, and it's a free country. And the only reason why people are able to disrespect it the way they are is because of the freedom that they have. And they just don't see that. And so it really irritates me, but I'm not going to get to that right now. Just want to go back my story. So we came over here, and I was 7, and just extremely thankful, just to be here now, to be where I am now, and to be in this country, So, initially we came over here. We lived with my aunt, my Auntie Amelia, and my Auntie Dulcie in their house when we first came for probably close to a year. We lived in a room there, and then once we got out of there, we moved into my Auntie Umpy's house. I call her my Auntie Umpy. She's not really my blood aunt or anything like that, but she's a really good family friend. Annalie, her daughter, I call her my cousin, because we've known each other since we were kids at that time. But anyway, we lived in their basement on Valleywood, and living in the basement. Basically, we shared, it was like a 1-bedroom basement, and we shared, my sister, my dad, my parents, my mom, my dad, and myself, we shared that room, and there was just a curtain that separated the room for us. And I remember at one point, I started sleeping out in the living room, and my mom was a hoarder, so she would have these 4X boxes because she thought she would send off these boxes to the Philippines. And anyway, they were freaking everywhere. Took up pretty much most of the basement. So my bed was 4X boxes and a mattress on top. So we really came from nothing. We had nothing growing up. My parents did everything that they could to keep us fed, to clothe us, and just do what they could for us. Growing up, I didn't really understand that. One thing I would look at is I would see, my friends, they'd have their own room, their parents had their house and all this stuff. And, like one of my best friends at the time when I was a kid, his name was John de Guzman. He lived behind us, and I would go over there, spend a lot of time over there. And, it was just, he had his own room, his brothers were there, and they had a lot of cars. And I would always think, one day my parents are going to get us a house. I'll have my own room one day, and I'll be able to get a car. But that was something that just never happened. They did everything they could to keep us fed, to keep us sheltered, but that never happened for us. I remember one time we went to McDonald's at Glenmont, and we just never had McDonald's. One time we had McDonald's, man, it was like we thought we went to the restaurant. I was like, oh shit, we're getting McDonald's, man, we're living. But it was probably good that we didn't eat that crap all the time, because my parents always made sure we had, we were fed at home with the stuff that they made, which was a lot better than McDonald's, I'll tell you that. But growing up, it was just going to McDonald's. I thought it was a shit. So, anyways, just I'm just extremely thankful for my parents. They busted their butts. I saw my dad, working so hard. One time when I got my license, he doesn't drive. I take him to work. My mom was in the Philippines because I think it was my grandma that had just had passed her, or it was either my grandma or grandpa. Anyway, she was back in the Philippines, and I went to go take my dad to work. It was in Potomac. I was about 16 years old at this time now. He went to go work at these people's house, did yard work and stuff like that around the house, and I remember it was summertime. It was hot as fuck. And, he knew I was going to go hang out with my friends. We were broke. I didn't have shit. Didn't have any money. Didn't have a job. At least, at that time, I didn't have a job. And, he gave me his credit card so I can go hang out with my friends and go shopping and stuff like that. And I remember picking him up. This man was like at least 100 degrees outside. And, he was on his hands and knees. He'd come to work with a bag with like 3-4 different shirts because he'd sweat all day and he'd have to change. But I remember going over there, and I saw him on his hands and knees, and his face was swollen. He got stung by bees. He ain't stopped working. He still went ahead and did his thing, got things going and all this stuff. But I'll never forget that, man, because it was like to see him, do that stuff. I think that's when it started clicking for me that we're not gonna get anywhere. At least. Not through them. Like I think that's when I started to realize that, at least not through them. Like they're trying everything that they can. They're trying all that they can to provide for us, but it's never, it's not gonna happen the way I'm thinking, like with my friends and all that stuff. And I started to realize at that time that my parents are doing their absolute best, and I need to start doing what I can to help out. And I wasn't the best kid. I wasn't the best person growing up. I was pretty stupid, did some stupid shit, hung out with my friends. I had some great friends, but they made some poor decisions, and I was just one of those guys that kind of followed along with them to some degree. But eventually, I kind of grew out of that. I started to realize that, my parents will never get me a car. That's never going to happen. And so that's when I started to look into getting a job. And I started to actually write down my goals. So I'm not really sure exactly why I did it or what made me do it, but I do remember maybe it was that one class that I had. It probably was. There was this one class that I took in school that it wasn't even a regular class. It was a summer class where we were basically, it was only for a day. We got assigned these jobs. And I was a trash man in New York, and the whole point of it was that I made $80,000, and I had to figure out my living expenses and manage my money. That was probably the best thing I ever learned in school. I'm pretty sure that's where all that came from, actually. Now that I think back on it, I started working, and I realized, if I work these many hours, I get this much money every 2 weeks. And if I save this much money, I can go ahead and do this. And I remember I got my car. I had a 92 Honda Civic Si. It was red, hatchback. And I wrote down my goals. And it was like April something. I'm gonna have this much money saved up, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this exhaust or this intake and all this stuff to try to hook up my car. And that's basically that's where it all started for me, I think, as far as like goal setting and planning and like working backwards, because that's when I realized, okay, so here's what I wanted, here's how much it cost, here's what I do, here's how much I make, here's how much I take home, here's what I would need to do to actually get what I want, right? So that was like, to me, that was probably the starting point. Now, obviously, as things went on, I started doing some stupid stuff as well, but that was probably the beginning of me getting my mind wrapped around finances and goal setting, because that really helped me out a ton to do that. So long story short, what ended up happening was when I wrote those things down on my goals, eventually I started working on chimneys, and I remember I started working on chimneys, and I got pretty good at it. I actually got pretty good at sales. I was good at solving problems. That's one thing I noticed about myself. I can solve the problems. I could actually articulate those issues to the customers in a way where they would buy for me. And so, I was doing pretty well in this company called Town and Country, where I was selling chimney work basically, and I was getting paid commission. And I remember at that time, instead of getting my Civic all fixed up, I was like, this is a waste of money. I realized it was a waste of money to do that. And I noticed that my mom's car, she had a Toyota Tercel, I noticed it was messed up and it wasn't working anymore. So I was like, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and buy my mom a car. And I remember that Christmas, my sister co-signed for me because I didn't have any credit, but I did have the income to do it. And so we went in and got our Trailblazer. Man, there's so much that goes into this. There's so many things I could tie into it. So actually, one of the things that happened was my buddy Monk. I remember we were at Barnes and Nobles over here in Rockville Pike, and we were looking at Auto Trader, I think it was, and I saw a Trailblazer, and I remember it saying it right there. I was like, I'm gonna buy this car. Had no clue what the heck I was really, how I was actually gonna do it, but I remember saying that. I was like, I'm gonna buy this car. And when I did buy that car and I bought it for my mom, it kind of gave me that confidence that, it's like, you know what, if I say it, and for some reason I just had there was so much conviction in me when I said it, where it was like, I don't know how I was gonna do it, but I just knew that I was gonna do it. Like, I knew it. Like, for some reason I just knew that it was in me to make it happen, and I was gonna make it happen. And so, that's one of the things that I do now, is that when I want something, or if I think I want something, I'll say it. I'll say it, like, you know what, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna that's gonna happen. I'm gonna get that. Like, right now I want to get a 50+ foot boat or yacht, right? And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that. That's gonna happen within the next year or so. I'm gonna get that. That's definitely gonna happen, because I see that as something that's gonna be great for my family, great for my friends as well. We hang out with my friend James on his boat, his yacht, and it's fun. It's great, and I want to be able to do that for myself, for my family, and for my friends as well. So it's like, I see that as a mobile vacation home on the water, and so that's what I'm gonna be working towards getting. So I've already thought it through, so I right now identified the goal, and I've identified the steps that I need to take. So I've already worked my way back on how I'm gonna do it. And for me, it's all about assets over liabilities. And basically what I'm saying is that I need to have assets to pay for my liabilities. Technically, in this situation, that boat would just be a liability. It doesn't do anything for me as far as producing any income. And so what I need to do is I need to go ahead and generate or invest in something that's going to generate the income to pay for that, which is going to be real estate. Real estate is basically, for me, is everything, as far as wealth generation and income producing and all that stuff. So I've already made the decision on how I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna be done through real estate. So we just got to get some rental properties that's gonna be able to pay for that. And luckily boats can get financed for up to 20 years. So we'll see how it goes, but that's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna be getting some rental properties that's gonna be paying for my yacht, or for our yacht. So I don't really know where I was going with this. Anyway, that's kind of like my background to where I am now. I need to do a better job, so I need to be able to break these videos down so I stick to a specific topic without getting everywhere, because there's so much I can get into. Anyway, I'm here at the parking lot, about to go eat at Fogo with my boy James, talk some business, eat, have fun, just kind of, I like to hear from him and get his input and his feedback, because the man's been there, he's done that. You know what I mean? Like, I aspire to be someone like him. He's been through a lot himself, and so I respect that a ton, and I'm just extremely thankful to have access to people like him, who motivate me, who inspire me to become a better person for myself and my family. So anyway, we're about to go eat, chop it up, and go from there. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.